Hello and welcome to DCBtv. This is episode 6. It's Thursday, the 25th of June, 7:30 live on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live as well. You're all very welcome once again to our weekly series, a check-in with the Dublin Concert Band. For anybody that is fresh to DCBtv, this is our virtual performance and rehearsal and conversation space for the Dublin Concert Band, which is a community wind group based in the heart of Ireland's capital city, Dublin. As a result of lockdown, unfortunately, we can't perform and rehearse with each other just at the minute. So we thought we'd go online, make sure our presence is still felt in the musical format, and provide some nice performances that we had recorded earlier this year, as well as nice conversation with some of the members that we have this evening. And this evening, I'm delighted to welcome some of our fresher, newer members into the Dublin Concert Band, and a really special guest in a former musical director of the band and somebody that actually passed the baton on to me as the current musical director, and that's Mr. Fergus O'Carroll. And I'm really looking forward to talking to Fergus, not only about his life in music, who I'm sure most people would know of Fergus, and of course, all of the things that he does within music, but the very special and important work that he's actually doing at the minute during lockdown, which we'll talk a little bit more about later on. But for now, we're going to go into our virtual performance space. And again, last week we had the first two movements of L'Arlésienne Suite Number 2 by Georges Bizet. So we thought we would follow that up with the third and the fourth movement of L'Arlésienne Suite Number 2. So there we are, stirring stuff from the members of the Dublin Concert Band in their last official public performance before we went into lockdown back in February in Windmill Lane in a joint concert that we were delighted to share the podium with the wonderful Boher Boy Band and their musical director, Andrew Jordan, all the way from Limerick. And just to mention that Andrew will actually be on this evening at 9 o'clock, soon after this show is over, with Keith Kelly, friend of the band as well, on the Global Band Room, talking a little bit about the new group that he's developed called the Diversity Marching Band, and as well as that, some updates about the Boher Boy Band themselves, who, of course, we've seen some great performances on Facebook so far, back out of lockdown, doing nice social distancing performances in their locality. So it'll be nice to hear some more from them and how they're getting on down in Limerick with music and getting back into that performance space. Thanks goodness. Delighted at this stage that we're going to go, as we normally do, inside the band room and meet some of the members. And we've got 3 initially, and then we're going to be joined by a 4th. And these are fresher members to the band, newer members to the band, just to see what their perspective is of the Dublin Concert Band, as well as what life is like during lockdown. And of course, as we all are, missing getting into rehearsals and performances with the Dublin Concert Band. So here we go inside the band room. I'm delighted to welcome Aoife, Grace, Leisha, and we'll be very soon joined by Daisy as well. Daisy is in transit and will be joining us live from wherever she's going to stop off fairly soon. So you're all very welcome, folks. How are we all doing?
All good. Thanks
Thank you. Hi, girls.
Good to see you all. And I see that Grace is still flying the colours for Up the Dubs behind her, and I shall say no more about that as a strong Tyrone supporter. But anyway, thanks a million for joining us on DCBtv, and it's great to see you again, because it's so long since I've seen all of you at this stage because of lockdown, obviously, and we can't get back into the band room for rehearsal purposes. So, as we always do, we'll go person by person. Just maybe introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do, if you like. So, I'm going to go to Aoife first, if you wouldn't mind, maybe just introducing yourself and let us know a little bit about you.
Okay, yeah. So I'm new to the band about a year and a half ago. I think I joined. I play the trumpet. I'm actually an engineer. I'm from Northern Ireland, but previously I was living abroad. So I moved back to Dublin and joined the band within, I think, about 3 weeks of being here. I sent the email to Derek, I think, within my first week of being here, and could come along to my first rehearsal pretty soon after that. Yeah, so that's my background.
And as a matter of interest, how did you find the band? Were you in the mood for playing some music and you Googled, or how did you come across it?
Yeah, I'd done a Google. I've obviously been in similar bands growing up, as we all have. And so I did a quick Google, and then talking to family who are also involved in music up back at home up in Northern Ireland, everybody recognised the DCB, and everyone was like, you have to, definitely send them an email, get the email sent, see if they'll take you, get practicing, and then go along to rehearsals. So definitely good advice. But that's how I found it, mainly over the internet. Yeah.
Brilliant, and the rest is history. I'm going to go to Leisha next. Leisha, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself, and then again, just a little bit of background about what you do and what you're currently doing during lockdown.
Yeah, so I started saxophone when I was 11, having played the recorder for a few years, and I went to college then and studied Irish and music. But after kind of leaving college, I ended up losing touch with music a little bit, so I joined the DCB. My saxophone teacher, Claire, is in the DCB, so she recommended that I join. I'm very glad that I did. And so I'm just working full-time during lockdown. It hasn't really been any different for me, except that I'm working.
And so, what do you actually work at, if you don't mind me asking, if I'm not prying too much?
I work for a fleet management company, so they provide company cars for businesses throughout Ireland. Right.
So there was no sense of lockdown for you guys. It had to be business as usual, I'd imagine.
Yeah, everyone was, yeah.
Wow. And Grace, just before I go to yourself, I'm going to add Daisy into the stream. Daisy, you're very welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you, Brendan.
We're just going to go to Grace first of all, so she can introduce herself and give us a little sense of a background and how you came into DCB. And I don't think we need to ask where you're from for obvious reasons, but go ahead. The floor is yours.
Well, like I said, Cork and Donegal always get a look in, so we've got to get the Dublin flag out when we can.
Fair enough. Fair.
My name is Grace. I play clarinet. I joined the band about a year and a half ago now. I lost touch with music again myself for about 13 years, a long time actually. And I seen the band one Sunday, windy morning in November in St. Patrick's Park in Dublin. And I went up and I spoke to Derek afterwards and I told him my situation. And he said, you know, get rid of the cobwebs off that clarinet, blow some air through it. You know, I got a service done on it and I started playing again. I think it was probably the end of January by the time I got down. And everybody was just so welcoming and really, really relaxed. And it's a challenge for me, to be fair. You know, they say you never forget, but I forgot. So I think I'll always be mastering the clarinet, but the level of professionalism is really great. So they drag me along, they pull me along. You know, it's really, really good. Yeah.
And it's fair to say at this stage that you've had a promotion within the band. So not only are you now a player, you've also now assumed a position in the library team. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. As if I haven't got enough going on. I know, it's great. Hazel and Keith are brilliant. You know, keeps us going, keeps us focused. It's the same with rehearsal. You know, Thursday afternoons and Sunday mornings. Keeps me out of trouble on a Saturday night for one thing.
Yeah, I suppose the thing is, though, I know I'm making light of it, of course, but actually the playing and rehearsal is such a massive commitment as it stands. But doing all of the extra work, whether you're in a committee, whether you're looking after music, which has to be there, it's such a huge commitment. So on behalf of myself and all the band, to you, Hazel and Keith, a huge thank you. And that industry has been continuing even through lockdown as well, right? So
exactly.
It's an extra layer of commitment. So thank you for that.
And the same with the commitment, you know, they really juggle so much. I mean, they've got kids and everything else, and how they do it all is beyond me, you know.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really amazing. Daisy, you have stepped out of the car. You've arrived at your destination, which I'm glad to say. For anybody that has joined us, we nearly had our first in transit roving reporter broadcast. I don't know if anybody. I'm going to show my age, but I don't know if anybody remembers Annika Rice. But there was going to be a hint of Annika Rice, where Daisy is going to be our roving reporter on behalf of DCBtv for a little while. So I'm glad to see you've reached your destination. Just a little introduction about yourself and obviously, you know, how you came to be in the band and how long you're in the band.
Yeah, my name is Daisy. I'm from Dublin. I play the flute, and I've been in the band since last October, maybe September time. So very new. But you guys are playing in Harold's Cross Park, and I was just walking past, and I was like, oh, I kind of wasn't going to stop, and my parents wanted to listen, and I was like, oh, I feel like this is going to be bad. I don't want to watch. And then it wasn't, and it was amazing. And you guys were brilliant. And I was like, hang on, I was like, there's people my age, and it all looks like it looks like something that is open to people joining and isn't a closed off thing. And I was like, okay, interesting. So I looked you guys up and did a bit of research, and then went to see you again in the Red Stables in St. Anne's. And then sent an email at some stage being like, hello, please can I join? And then joined then later. But I love band, and I've been playing flute since I was 6 or so, and then did it all the way up to Leaving Cert time, did my practical, finished my grades, all that. And then once I did my Leaving Cert, I was like, all right, I'm kind of done. And just kind of left it, kind of forgot about it in a way, which is really bad. And then DCB was my way back in, and actually I've been doing loads in the last year. So yeah, thank you guys.
No, and great to have you all in the band, and great to see a perspective from all of you. I suppose a different angle, somebody that, or people that are fresh in the door, so to speak. I'm just going to show something up on the screen for you all so you can see it. I'm one of the library team.
Oh.
Go A-team. Should have the A-team flag here too.
Absolutely. Daisy, just with yourself though, did you start off your musical life in wind band, or is the Dublin Concert Band the first time that you ever joined a wind ensemble, so to speak?
Not the first wind ensemble, but the first proper band. Yeah. So I started in Leeson Park School of Music when I was really small, and played flute in flute ensembles the whole way up, and school orchestras, and loads of different small like chamber groups and stuff. So I was always doing ensemble stuff, but never a proper band, wind and brass band. So this is my first exposure to it.
Okay, baptism by fire, as they say. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So most of you, for the most case, are, it's almost like the lifelong learning model where you maybe have had a bit of time out, or you didn't necessarily see a Dublin Concert Band or any concert band as a pathway, and you happen to be passing across a park or to see it online, for example. So with that in mind, we're in lockdown at the minute, so you're fresh in the door, and then all of a sudden we can't do anything. Aoife, what's that like at the minute for you? I mean, what's the process with the trumpet for you at the minute?
Yeah, a bit of a shock, and it is disappointing. I mean, it's definitely been hard for everyone to adjust, and I'm still at work, so that aspect is there. But the routine of your Thursday evening and your Sunday morning, you really miss. Well, I love my routine and my everything going to plan. So now that everything's been thrown up in the air, it's a bit of a stressful situation. Not that I wasn't practicing before, but my neighbours have definitely heard of the last few months than I have previously. And I live, we have a building WhatsApp group, and especially when we were recording, I took part in the Ireland's call, and obviously then we did Heroes. I was like playing the same thing over and over, and I had to play without my practice mute, so I was late to go for it. So I sent a few warning messages like, I'm really sorry, just a warning, I'm trying not to play too late. So I'm trying to be a considerate neighbour, but I think everyone in my surrounding area will be glad when rehearsal recommences.
And you're not interested in doing some open air concerts, kind of literally transitioning out of the house?
Out the door, yeah. We have a tiny little square of concrete at the front, no garden to speak of for the building, but maybe I could sit out there and serenade them all on a Sunday morning in place of rehearsals.
Absolutely. I think we're going to find and I'm being deadly serious, because I think we're going to find really interesting ways to engage and perform. I think the thing we're one of the main things that we're all missing, and I say this often because as a conductor, I assume that everybody walks into the band room really focused and all they want to do is play music. But it turns out that you all want to socialize and talk to each other as well. Who knew? So, but I jest, of course, but it's a really fundamental part of it is the association with people and finding those new relationships and those new friendships. Grace, you've been really enjoying, as we've said, integrating. I think it's fair to say that maybe you're suffering with that lack of connection with all of your friends in the band.
Yeah, 100%. The personalities in the band are just phenomenal. Like, I don't know whether it's a band thing or like a community thing or just a general interest in music, but we all just seem to get along so well. And I think it was Toby said the other day when we met up on Monday for Ode to Joy, he said he just sat back and kind of said, it's like no time has passed, and that's what it's like, just pick up exactly where we left off. And the old guys last week, like, it's so good to hear them, but like you miss seeing them and catching up over a cup of tea and just seeing how their week is, or hearing a funny old story or something like that, with the different age groups, we just get along so well.
Yeah, absolutely. Leisha, you're obviously continuing to work and stuff. Have you been able to keep up the kind of a weekly practice, or have you been engaging with music, or how does music sit in your life at the minute during lockdown?
Actually, a few months before lockdown, I kind of picked up the clarinet again, which I had picked up when I was 16 during transition year. And I played in Belgium with the Dublin Concert Band, but hadn't touched it in years. So I started playing with that same band again on the clarinet, and so I've been practicing that probably a little bit more than the saxophone. And also during the lockdown, we had a bereavement, and my brothers and I, who haven't played together since we were maybe 10, came together and did a few pieces, and it was lovely.
Oh, sorry to hear that, and commiserations on behalf of us all. Nice to be able to engage, though, I suppose, to see the silver lining of that. We may be looking for a transfer within the band then, from the saxophone to clarinet section.
I wouldn't be that good now.
Never say never. Never say never in the Dublin Concert Band. Daisy, what about yourself in terms of the kind of the practice and the routine based upon what you're doing at the minute? Have you been able to keep up any music, or has it been a struggle?
Yeah, I've not been practicing much. I've not been very good. But I did do the Ode to Joy thing on Sunday. Just in my estate, there's two kids. Well, not kids, they're my age and a little bit younger. But we would have gone to the same music school when we were younger. So the three of us went out and played it for our neighbours, and a few people sang, and all the small kids are running around and asking what the flute was and what the cello was, and yeah, it was really lovely. And kids who like I'd only see if I'm babysitting them, so it was lovely to have a more of a proper community feel rather than just a hired to look after them kind of thing. Do you know?
Yeah, that's amazing. It's funny how music as a different angle for engagement has kind of opened up a new door.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's been great. I got a ukulele. Mum bought us matching ukuleles. But much to Toby's disappointment, I have not yet mastered it. But I'll get there. I'll get there before our first rehearsal. Promise.
Well, I think as we start to get ourselves into rehearsals and performances again, certainly I, from a musical director's point of view, have found out some great insights into people's strengths and other specialisms that they have, and we're going to be exploring all of those. That comes as a warning to all of the band members that we're going to be having concerts with dueling ukuleles and singers and trad players, and because it really has opened up everybody's eyes in terms of being able to connect online. Aoife, have you been enjoying seeing all the content and stuff online and enjoying the kind of variety that's there?
Yeah, it's like you're saying, the ingenuity of people in times like these, you know, people, their imagination, and even like this, for example, DCBtv and all the collaborative projects between all the different bands, not just in Ireland but globally. It's really nice and reminds you at a time where you feel very isolated in a way, that there's also this huge community that music opens up to you, whether not that you can always, they're not around the corner, but you know that they're there. And it's always nice because I think sometimes as an engineer, there's no one in my work who plays an instrument, or anytime I mention it, they all think it's bizarre and fascinating and they want to hear more. So it's nice to remind yourself that there's a whole community of people out there that share this lovely thing together, you know. So
yeah.
The funny one that plays, what was it, the trombone? What was it, the tuba? You know, so it's nice to remind yourself that you have all that. Yeah,
I think it's lovely how during lockdown people have turned to the arts, you know, to really kind of reassure themselves, get some confidence, some empathy. And I'll say this live on air, I'm a bit of the odd one out in my own family, because I play music, but the rest of the family are teachers or engineers, so they always have a puzzled look about themselves, of, you know, in terms of, is that a career? So it's always an odd one, and I think we found a reassurance about art and creativity and performance in such a difficult time for us all. So it's really interesting. Grace, during lockdown, what have you found any benefit, or you've been doing anything that's kind of innovative or showing a little bit of ingenuity, if you like, during lockdown?
So I've been busy. I've been flat out. I haven't. Some of my friends are saying that they were bored and they had all this free time, and I'm going, where? Because I don't have any. So I've been working at home since St. Patrick's Week, and trying to keep up a bit of practice every now and again. It's very hard to do a few minutes a day. So now I'm trying to do like 2 hours over the week kind of thing, and just productive practice rather than just blowing and playing and not getting anywhere really with it, you know. And I've also started my own business, so I am going to be helping people stop smoking. So I actually, when I picked up the clarinet a year and a half ago, I actually put down cigarettes.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's kind of been an inspiration to put one down, pick something good back up again, and maybe give it another proper go this time, you know.
That's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more? Go on, give us a little more information about the process.
So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about putting in maybe some musical terms to explain it a little bit better. So the space between the notes that we play are just as important as the notes themselves. So I think it's safe to say that without the silence, we wouldn't have the sound. So it's kind of coming into that way of thinking, the smoker's mind. So I was a very dedicated smoker for a very long time, and it's very difficult to approach it that way. It's kind of like seeing the blank page. Without the blank page, you wouldn't have the notes, you know. So kind of appreciate that space and that approach, and then we go in and we recondition the mind with the correct information around smoking or addiction, any kind of addiction, but purely around smoking in my case. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations on that. We'll look forward to hearing more about that. I love the fact that you've given us that musical parallel. If there's somewhere that you can coin and patent that process for DCB.
That's it. Well, I thought you'd appreciate that as well. You've said something about that before, about the energy in the room, and
I often say this, and it's my own personal opinion as a musician. I was going to say conductor, but just as a musician, I love the fact that music is framed by silence, and when you find that moment within music where there is silence, if there's a general pause or something which is intently scored, it creates such drama or such stillness. It has such emotion, and there's nothing being heard. I think it's quite ironic, it depends on how it's framed. So I love hearing that. Congratulations. Absolutely amazing. I'm going to go to Leisha again. Leisha, what are you looking forward to most when you get back into the band room? Is it playing music, new music? Is it just being sat amongst your friends? What is it?
I think it's the challenge of playing with the band again, because when you're practicing at home, you can, you take everything out and it's what you do normally, but actually getting in and playing with the band and seeing where you're actually falling short and where you need to work, I've kind of missed that.
Yeah,
as soon
as you said that, all of the heads started nodding at the same time, and I imagine all of the heads at home are nodding as well. It's a fact of life. It's a different challenge, and there's something very reassuring about being in that challenge with friends and colleagues in the same space. Anything else, sorry, that you're missing as well?
I was just going to say, playing with the conductor is very different to playing with a score.
Yeah, the self-interpretation, although it's a technique in itself, but it is nice to be subject to somebody else's interpretation, especially when you try and find how you can marry that with somebody else that's playing and responding to the conductor, and seeing if you can both, and I'm kind of putting myself on the spot here, understand what she or he is trying to convey, which I hope I do more successfully more often than not. Daisy, I'm just going to take you off mute because there was a little bit of interference, but finally to you, what are you hoping for as you come out of lockdown? What's the hope and the dream musically?
Musically, to get back into the practice room straight away with you guys, and hopefully have a weekly rehearsal again. If not, even if we don't get the twice a week, if we got one a week, if we got one every 2 weeks, I'd be delighted. I'd love to do a bit more. I was doing some doing some singing stuff with friends, and a few friends abroad were like, oh, will you sing this and we'll mash it together into a thing. So I did a bit of that and would love to do more of that. I think now that I've had a chance to actually record stuff, I think I'd love to do a bit more. So we've really found kind of a variety in life in lockdown, haven't we, really? I'm going to go around all of you very quickly. First piece that you walk into, what do you hope that is when you walk back into the band room? What are you hoping that's on the stand when you walk back in? Aoife, I'm going to go to you last because you pulled a face. As soon as I said that, I get a sense that you need more time to focus on that question. Grace, I'm going to go to yourself first, and as you give us an answer, I'm going to just pull this up on the screen so you can see it. From Hannah. Bravo, Grace. Obviously talking about your work.
Thanks, Hannah.
Non-smoking. So what's that first piece?
Aretha Franklin. Definitely.
Right. It might scare you to think that I'm going to try and add in some choreography into that piece. So maybe if I was asked that question again, you might change your mind. But we'll see. Leisha, first piece in the stand when you come back into the band room?
It's obviously on my mind because I've been practicing, but The Lion King, I'm enjoying that.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Another good choice. Daisy, what about yourself?
That was actually my one as well, Leisha. But any sort of Disney medley I would be up for.
Anything Disney related?
Anything. I'd actually play anything. Yeah.
That's a good starting point. We can work with that. That's absolutely fine. And Aoife, last but not least, and I give you hopefully enough time to think about it.
I might steal Grace's answer and agree with Aretha, but for me, anything that I can properly give it a proper blow and not be worried about the neighbours next door, and anything with clarinet and anything with a loud trumpet section, we can probably give it a melody. I think I'll be happy with that.
Yeah. Obviously, when we go back into the band room, we're going to be practicing social distancing. That might be good in this case for the people sat in front of you by the sounds of it.
Maybe I should stay outside once everybody else integrates back in. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right, though. It'd be really nice to get back into the band room. And I mean, you've already experienced it in the wonderful Ode to Joy, obviously on Sunday past. But there's such an emotion about the idea of getting back into the band room and being in each other's company and just having a conversation and being able to chat and share some stories again, and the benefit of playing some really nice music at the same time. So I'm looking forward to welcome you all into the band room at different stages, and hopefully not too far away. But thanks a million for joining us live on DCBtv, and congratulations to you all on the fabulous work that you're all doing. And yeah, thanks a million, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Brendan.
Thanks, Brendan. Bye-bye.
Thanks for
So there we are. We had the four amazing ladies from Dublin Concert Band, some of our newer members that we have in the band, giving us a little bit of insight into what life is like as a newbie coming into the Dublin Concert Band. And I'm sure that's a shared story for anybody that joins the band, not only in Ireland, but right across the world. And it's amazing to hear how those stories and the processes by which they find themselves in the band all have parallels. The fact that they maybe came across the band on the internet, which makes us obviously all the more connected these days, or walking past a park. And I think that's something for us all to think about as we start to move back to whatever normal life is, that we're getting back into parks and playing for audiences and really putting that music back into people's lives in the way that we would hope to have done it for a long time. So now I'm delighted to welcome not only a friend of DCB, but as I mentioned already, the gentleman who passed the baton over to me. And I'm sure many people who are watching online at the minute will, of course, know Fergus O'Carroll very, very well, but in various different ways, because the man is an absolute genius and talent in various different methods and practices. And one of those is obviously in French horn playing. So I want to just feature a little video for you, first of all, before we welcome on for a conversation. There's something so poignant about watching that video, and obviously the beautiful music that accompanies it of Misha Era, which we featured in a different capacity last week. But the video is just so moving, and I'm delighted now to welcome a friend, a colleague, a mentor, a musical genius in various different capacities, which we'll find out in just a second, and that is Mr. Fergus O'Carroll. Fergus, you're very welcome to DCBtv in all those capacities, and none least, of course, as the former musical director of Dublin Concert Band. But if there happens to be anybody that, for some whatever unknown reason, doesn't know who you are, introduce yourself and give us a little bit of background about who you are and what you do.
Good evening, Brendan. My name is Fergus. I'm from Waterford, and I'm a bandsman. I've been a bandsman my whole life. Started off in St. Patrick's Brass Band in Waterford. My dad was the conductor. I wouldn't necessarily advise that to any young players to have their dad as their conductor. And then I just the rest, as they say, is history. It was steps, and ended up in Dublin, and I've been here for more years than I care to remember, I suppose. Yeah, that's about it.
I'm gonna push you on this because that is absolutely not it. So obviously you've been a member of for a long time the National Symphony Orchestra. You're a faculty member of the woodwind, brass, and percussion of the Academy, and head of that department as well at one point. Conductor, composer, arranger, chief bottle washer. You it's fair to say you've done an awful lot. You have a varied musical life. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's one of the exciting things about being, I suppose, a big fish in a small pond. I did have many years ago. I had the opportunity to go to England. I was invited to come and do an audition for the Scottish National Symphony Orchestra. Bryden Thompson was the principal conductor of the National Symphony Orchestra at the time, and then he moved on to Scottish National. And he said to me, "Would you be interested in auditioning for the first horn job?" And I thought about it for a very short time, and I knew that was the start of a journey. You start off in Scotland, maybe move to Wales, and then you might move to Birmingham, and then down to London, and into the rat race. And I decided, in a matter of minutes, that really that wasn't for me. And I've never been sorry. I've never regretted that decision. And I suppose, staying in Ireland, it just afforded me so many opportunities. This is the big fish in a small pond. I got an opportunity to do pretty much everything in the musical business. Just looking at that video, I was thinking, when I look back now, there was a cameraman at one stage, and his lens was about that far from me. So you had all your musicians, you're the focus, right? You're the soloist. And then on top of all of the normal pressures that we experience as performing musicians, this guy with the lens is just there beside you. And I have to say, it's a bit like the Swan, where everything looks calm on top, but the feet are going like this underneath. And looking at that video, I haven't seen it for quite some time. That reminded me of all I could see was Swan's feet. That's what I thought of when I saw that.
There's something so poignant about that video, considering that, obviously the music is the epitome of things that we're going through at the minute. But then not only that, the videography, the content, that pan back and up of the concert hall, which was empty. The irony of that, considering where we are at the minute and seeing ourselves move out of that is I suppose quite frightening and stark in one way. But with all of that said, how have you managed kind of life in lockdown, and have you kept music going and teaching?
Well, it's been really interesting, Brendan, because I've used this quotation many times since lockdown. But in so many ways, we've been teaching music, because I'm now a teacher, semi-retired, in that I only do a number of hours a week teaching for the Royal Irish Academy of Music. And I have to say, I'd recommend it to anybody, that concept of having full days off during the week. And it's brilliant, and I'm loving it. But we've been teaching the same way since the days of Mozart. And nothing has changed. Everything has been exactly the same. There's one-to-one lessons. So when we ended up in lockdown, I would have used Skype previously, and we were advised to use Zoom, something that I fought against. Why use Zoom? Skype works perfectly well. And then hearing that everybody was using Zoom, I thought, maybe am I missing something here? Maybe I should try this. So that was kind of a bit of a challenge to get into the whole kind of technology side of things, which I've never been afraid of previously, and I'm still not. So I got the students all on Zoom. And then I started thinking that there was so many things that we could do teaching that we've never embraced. So, for example, every one of my students from the first years, the 6, 7, 8-year-olds, right up to the, I won't be rude, but over half a century students that I have, we all studied the most important 2.5 minutes from the 54-minute Tchaikovsky Symphony No. 5. And that, obviously, everybody knows this. That's the horn solo at the beginning of the second movement, yeah? So we edited out those 2.5 minutes from a full performance, and it was one that I had played in 10 years previously, pretty much to the day when I started the project. So we edited it out using a free online editing tool. So all the kids experienced audio editing, and then they all composed their own piece of music. All of my students composed their own piece of music, which we then put into, we then put into Sibelius. So they all did music notation with me. Mm-hmm. So we embraced the whole technology. We had no choice. We couldn't go into a room. Zoom, Skype, it doesn't matter what it is, even StreamYard, it doesn't have the same sound as if I was sitting in the room with you. So there are limitations. You can't define how well somebody is playing sound-wise, because it depends on which room they're in or what microphone they're using, etc., etc. So we took the other things, the things that we could control, and we tried to make those better. And I have to say, I really, really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the whole experience.
It's amazing. So I get a sense you're going to embrace some of the good and the positive stuff, and keep carrying that forward as you move forward.
Yeah, I think it's something that I've always had that in my mind, no matter what happens to you during life. My mom had a saying, which I've lived by, and that is that no matter what you run up against, there's always another way. And it stood me extremely well, I have to say. But as far as the teaching is concerned, I won't be disappointed to get back into a room with the students once the room is safe and the student is safe and I'm safe. But I have actually enjoyed. I found it very tiring, exhausting in actual fact, teaching on Zoom. It's really, really focused, but brilliant. Yeah, really.
It is. It's definitely a new form of engagement, and it requires, I suppose, certain procedures and practice because it is much more focused, and actually it's more attentive in terms of our listening and trying to marry that with our eyes. So yeah, no,
yeah. And then there was the whole human side of things, that a kid would come in for a lesson last October, and you'd spend the time with them during that lesson, and then they're gone. But now it became a situation where a big focus in that kid's week was their French horn lesson.
Yeah.
And one of the great things about it was a lot of them didn't have a lot more to do except practice. So I obviously pointed that out to them. And we made great progress. And then we did a Zoom concert for all the grandparents, and we had 80 people in the concert, and they all played a piece of their own choice, and they all played their own composition. And then one of the kids, his dad is in music, he orchestrated this kid's piece. Chris is, I think he's 12. 12, 13. He orchestrated it for wind band, and I'm going to do it with the first opportunity I get. I'm going to do it with the junior wind band in the Royal Irish Academy of Music.
That's amazing.
Bringing things from there and kind of informing the future from what we've learned from the past, which is pretty good.
That is absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on to something else, and I'm going to circle back to obviously one of the main reasons why you're here as the former member of Dublin Concert Band, but something else that you have been continuing to do during lockdown, and something that has come to you from a completely different angle from music, because as we were talking earlier on, your whole life is based around music, and then there's this other thing which is so important at the minute, and you've got the T-shirt on there. Talk to us a little bit about the blood bikes and the work that you're doing there.
So I suppose when you looked at the video of Misha Era, the trumpet player was Graham Hastings. The orchestra was the Irish Film Orchestra. It wasn't the Symphony Orchestra, it was the Irish Film Orchestra. And the trumpet was Graham Hastings. And Graham Hastings was a member of Blood Bikes. When I was still in the orchestra for many, many years, he's been a member of Blood Bikes. And he's often said to me, I think you'd enjoy it. I think you really would enjoy it. And when I retired, I had said to my wife, Antoinette, I had said many, many times, it's something I'm going to explore after I retire. So I did. contacted Graham, how do I go about doing this? And so he filled me in, and I joined the group last December. And then when you join the group, then you have to go through orientation, and then the lockdown happened. You were allowed at that stage to ride a bike without a special advanced training for 6 months, but you had to say that you would get your advanced training within 6 months. And before that, well, before I even started advanced training, all the training stopped because of COVID-19. So at the moment, I'm a driver. I drive cars rather than bikes. But the work that they do it's amazing. They move blood samples. We've moved a lot of COVID-19 samples. Before laboratories were set up around the country, everything came to Dublin to the National Virus Lab, and we would meet other blood bank groups down the country and continue the journey up to Dublin with samples. I've had hundreds of samples in the car at one time. But a lot of people don't know the other side of work that we do. So if you take, for example, a kid with leukemia who would previously have had to travel to Crumlin Children's Hospital once a week for blood tests, the parents have been trained in how to take a blood sample, and we will go to that kid's house and collect the sample and bring it to Crumlin. So there's no waiting. The kid stays at home. And then an amazing service that we offer is distributing, and it doesn't matter whether it's from a donor to the child, or whether we're supplying it on to somebody else. We work with the Human Breast Milk Bank in Enniskillen, transporting human breast milk. And this is for babies who are prematurely born in hospital, giving these kids the best chance of life. So it's fantastic. We don't think about any of that. You know, funnily enough, I think we did a pre-test earlier on, and I was saying to you, I would arrive and work in the Symphony Orchestra, and I would see that we're doing Fingal's Cave. And I'd go, oh God, no, not again. I played Fingal's Cave hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of times. It was just too much. We don't question what we carry in the cars. We just know that it's good. What we're doing is good, and we're saving the HSE literally hundreds of thousands of euros every year, because anything that we transport, we work after hours on Monday to Friday, and then we work all weekends. So up until this point, until blood bikes, everything was transported by taxis. So it was all paid for. So it's really, really well worthwhile charity. And of course, at some stage in the near future, I'll be talking to the Dublin Concert Band about doing something for blood bikes. Of course, we'll have this interaction as we've done with so many other groups and so many other bands and worthwhile causes. Let's say.
It really is, absolutely is. And I'm just going to add in a comment there from Hazel. Amazing work. Yeah,
I've never worked a day in my life, Brendan, because it's not work when you enjoy what you're doing, and that is absolutely true. It really isn't. It's so worthwhile, and it doesn't take an awful lot of time. I do. At the moment, we have so many volunteers. We've got a waiting list. We've got 136 volunteers, and we've got a waiting list of more than that, of people wanting to come in, but we can't take them in. We're kind of limited to 2 shifts a month, which might be from 7 o'clock in the evening until 3 o'clock in the morning, or 6 o'clock in the morning, or whatever. So we're overstaffed. But I've become a member of the social media team as well. So I'm writing Facebook posts and LinkedIn posts and things like that. So it really is interesting and worthwhile. That's
amazing.
It's so worthwhile.
And just to give us some, I suppose, to really show the impact on this, you're giving me some figures when we were talking around in terms of comparison of what you did last year and then actually what you've done during COVID. Just give us an idea of what that is a comparison.
Well, I was talking to Graham Hastings earlier on today, because he brought me out on a training session for this advanced riding, motorcycle riding. And Graham was telling me that we're not even halfway through the year yet, but for the first half of this year, we have done more runs down the country. So meeting a blood bikes group from Cork, or delivering breast milk to a blood bike group going to Kilkenny or whatever else. And we've done more in the first half of this year than we did in the whole of last year. We've done something like 750 up to this point, country runs, we call them. And we did 600 and something in the whole of last year. That's
amazing. Yeah, and congratulations and thank you to not only yourself but everybody in blood bikes and all the work you do. It's largely kind of behind the scenes. People don't think about it, but it is making obviously such a massive impact on the people that you're touching, and obviously then the HSE as well. So amazing, truly amazing.
Yeah. And it's got a uniform. I've always had a uniform my whole career. Everything I've done has had a uniform.
Show us the hat.
Oh, okay. There you go.
There you go. This is a really good segue and a good pivot, actually, because another uniform which we can see is in a picture of you, as far as I'm aware, in the background up on that wall. Give us a sense of that. I can hear a laugh in the background.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, it's not the first time Antoinette has laughed at me. No, it won't be the last.
Give us the backstory of this.
That picture is me in my St. James's Brass and Reed Band uniform, because I was musical director of St. James's Brass and Reed Band from 1987 until 1998.
Okay.
And then it was 2003, I think I joined DCB until 2018. So it was a good spell. I've been very, very lucky in that everything that I've done, there have been really long segments, whether it be with Dublin Symphony Orchestra. We had, again, it was like DCB 15 years with Dublin Symphony Orchestra. Oh my goodness.
So there we are. There you are, sorry, in 2003. And can you name the place and the event?
I'm going to guess Clonakilty.
Correct. And there's a video that accompanies this as well.
Oh dear.
But I'm not going to show that now. If we're going to save that for the after show. Okay. It's a fabulous video.
Okay.
And I think Dahi O'Shea introduces it. I'm assuming it's for TG Carr or whatever the precursor that was.
Right.
I'm going to go through some photos just and see if you can remember the date in the event and some memories.
That's not too long ago. I'm wondering, might that be in France?
No, funny enough, there's a very strong Clonakilty theme running through this evening. That's Clonakilty on the street. So it's a square you can see in the background.
Right. Okay.
And that is 2012.
Okay.
Yeah, there you are. And there's a winning picture there.
Yeah, that would have been later than 2012 because that suit is not that old. So that's the only way I could put a date on that.
Yeah, so that's in Navan. That was the Nationals, and that was 2016.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
And this is a lovely picture of the band.
And that's is it Pearse Park in Dublin?
St. Enda's.
St. Enda's Park, yeah. And we did a Sunday afternoon concert.
And that was for the 1916 centenary. Amazing picture. And I'm going to come to this chap in a second with another picture. Another winning moment. You can probably guess because you're on a train.
That's definitely Clonakilty after.
Exactly.
I'm looking at how slim I am in that photograph. And again, wearing a uniform as always. As always,
yeah. And here's the picture that I'm talking about. So obviously as a French horn player, but this chap here as well. A great relationship between yourself and himself through the band as well.
Yeah, I think that's in the Phoenix Park. What's it called?
In Farmley.
Farmley. And that's my son sitting beside me. And somebody else was conducting that day, but they were kind of short of French horn players, so they allowed me to play, if I remember correctly.
Correct. So that's back in 2015. And maybe somebody who's watching at home, maybe Derek or somebody can confirm if that was 2015 would have either been myself, I assume, or John at that stage.
Yeah.
But I do remember a Farmley gig where you rocked up with a French horn kindly for me and played a little bit of French horn where I was conducting. So it could have been that one. And I think that you might have mentioned this already.
That's definitely in La Coile Valmer in southern France. That was a great trip. That was a fantastic trip. And really, really well organized, great audiences, and great performances. Do you know, my biggest memory of that trip was playing by the beach midday. I have no idea what day of the week was, but it was absolutely boiling on the French Riviera by the beach at midday. It was fantastic. And the band were so happy and so joyous. This is the thing about community bands. Everybody's there because they want to be there. And it's generally a sense of enjoyment and brilliant. I've loved community bands my whole life. And real
brilliant sense of togetherness. And I think from the same trip.
That's from the same trip, and I can actually see the winery. Unfortunately, I can't taste the wine right now, but I can see the winery. And I think we sampled more than just by the nose. We sampled a lot more than that shortly after that, as I remember. I don't remember a lot about it, but it was a good day. A good DCB day.
This is a bit of a milestone, not only for you, but for the band actually as well. There you are in the middle,
in the band room.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the occasion, believe it or not.
So this was the official last trip to the basement, if you like, in 2018 for yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So I assume this would have been the last rehearsal before the last gig, before you put the baton down, essentially.
Oh yeah, I can see where I am now. That insignificant head down there. Yeah. Yeah, that must have been just before that concert in the National Concert Hall, which was a great concert. It was a great concert. What a way to leave. What a way to.
Well, there you are.
Yeah, brilliant. And that picture that I'm holding in my hand there, if you look, it's up on my wall. There, up in the corner.
Oh, there it is.
See it? Up in the corner. It's on my wall.
Amazing. I remember, if obviously it doesn't show you the full picture of where people were, but I was sat somewhere down here, if you can see where my mouse is going.
I remember exactly where you were sat, Brendan. There's the guy that's taken over after me. How am I doing? Is my trousers fitting? That was the most important thing about being a conductor. You know, somebody said to me once that your trousers fits you well at the back.
True story.
True
story. I'm still trying to grow into all of my trousers.
I've grown out of a few of mine, I can tell you.
But I do remember being, and typically as an audience member, none of us kind of like to be that close to any ensemble play. But I really was hoping to kind of, I suppose, be kind of middle and center and take it all in. And you know what? I had the most fabulous and most impactful experience as an audience member, seeing so many friends, so many colleagues, musicians that I know so well, seeing yourself and the poignancy, again, I'll use that word, of the event. The atmosphere and the whole flow of the event was absolutely electric. It was certainly for me one of the most, from an audience member point of view, gratifying and enjoyable and impactful concert band, wind band concerts that I've ever enjoyed in Ireland and possibly ever, if I'm being honest. It was absolutely amazing.
You know, there's a thing about the whole music world is that all organizations, they have a cyclical nature. You go through a period and then there's a change, and they need a change. Somebody once said to me that if you're a musical director of any group, and I've done orchestras, choirs, and bands, when you bring them to the zenith, if that takes you 10 years, you better be well gone before another 10 years. So they're cyclical in nature. And as I said, I was very, very lucky to get 15 years of what I consider to be a really special time in my life, a special association with my life, and to be able to leave at the end of the time the best of friends with everybody, and that's really special. I was talking earlier on about the cameraman on the stage for Misha Era, and the camera's gone at this far. About, well, you were the camera for me on that gig. He's over there over my right shoulder.
It was purely spectator sport for me, and it was the most enjoyable.
I have to say, Brendan, and I'm not, this is not platitudes in any way. I have to say that I was absolutely delighted because we had an association with DCB together. When I have a bad habit of bringing people that are at least as good as me and as assistants. And I had done that many, many years previously with you. And I was absolutely thrilled that the band chose you as my successor, because I knew it was in good hands. In a community band, it's not just the musician who's out in front. It's the person who handles the personalities, the person who makes the weakest player in the band feel as important to the band as the strongest player in the band. There's so many different things. It's not about the perfect performance. It's about the perfect ensemble. And that entails more than just music. That entails personalities. It entails cohesion. There's so many things. And I knew you were the right person for that, following on from me. So I was absolutely thrilled.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you. And we did speak about this. It as I said to everybody, and I've said this on DCBtv. For me, it was a kind of a coming home of ways, because and I've already called you a mentor, but the mentorship that I received within that framework, which is fair to say is largely down to yourself, and something for anybody that is watching from other bands or community groups. This is really something to think about. That if you can give access, a platform, to somebody as a musician or an artist to help engage with others, it's only going to feed back into you and allow you to develop this reciprocal relationship that should, in kind of symbiosis, develop in everybody. And I'm delighted to say that we as far as I remember, almost all the time, I don't remember any issues between us, but there was a great cohesion about the ensemble, about the committee, about the organization, and that's really important, I think, for community groups. In fact, never more important than it is right now for people to have that sense of cohesion, and that was entirely down to you in terms of that framework.
And it's also respect, cohesion and respect. I mean, I had respect for, as I said, the weakest member of the band. There's an old saying that I love a parade, I have to because I'm in the band. Right? And I remember somebody saying once, cancelling a rehearsal coming up to Christmas in a previous group that I was with. And I objected from the point of view that not only has the member to be there for the band, but the band has to be there for the member. It's a two-way street. And I think that was a very, there were times in DCB when it wasn't so healthy, but certainly by the time that I left, and during an awful lot of the time that I was there, it was very healthy relationship, those two things, the band for the player and the player for the band. I remember doing DCB rehearsals as a guest many years ago, playing the trumpet on the conductor stand, using my left hand. Horn players use their left hand, funnily enough, whereas all the other brass players with valved instruments use their right hands. And I would play the trumpet part with my left hand, badly I might add, while I was conducting with my other hand. And it's probably one of the most stupid things that I ever did, because if I had thought about it properly, without conducting, it would have been a brilliant opportunity for people just to listen to what was going on in the room, rather than trying to follow a stick, which is one of the most important things as far as I'm concerned. You can look at best conductors in the world, and they're this and they're I've done a Mahler symphony, Bruckner symphonies, a whole season of Bruckner symphonies with a conductor, and all he did was this. Fantastic.
Yeah.
It was absolutely fantastic. There was no there was none of that.
Yeah.
And it was just, he inspired people. Brilliant.
Yeah, amazing. I suppose, just to leave the conversation of DCB and obviously being that mentor for me when I was the assistant, one of the things that still sits in my memory very, very vividly and strongly is, I think, within the first month, where we sat in that room downstairs in North Great George Street in the basement, and you said, you have to remember that bands like DCB are fragile. And as long as you always bear that in mind, you'll always treat it with the respect that's due. And it's a really good point. At any stage, anything could change. My goodness, COVID-19 has kind of proved the point. So we have to always, no matter if we're a musician, if we're a conductor, if we're in the committee, if we're a volunteer, we have to treat it with such care, such respect, and just the utmost sense of togetherness and cohesion and bringing people together. So that nugget still stays with me. In fact, I use it on the teaching course. So you get some small commission for that.
Okay.
on that one.
It's been one of my pleasures to go back and actually play with the band since then, because I played in the RTE studios when we did a live broadcast. Was it 18 months ago, something like that? A year ago?
And I think some of the video and the footage that has you in it, it's lovely to see your participation in that. And actually, it's going to be a video that we're going to feature in the future with DCBtv. I'm going to just add in a few comments here. Hannah, Brendan, you need to conduct by playing the tuba. No?
Don't let him play tuba, please. Don't let him play tuba.
Don't. I in the Garda band, we used to call it holding the tuba, because that's all I could do, not necessarily play it.
Yeah, and I blame myself for that, Brendan. If you'll excuse me, I blame me because I was on the audition panel that when you got the job, if I remember correctly.
Correct. And now we're getting really to the crux of the issue. I have tried conducting from a drum kit unsuccessfully, never to be done ever again. And another friend of yours and mine as well. Good to see you tuning in, Liam. Well done, Fergus and Brendan.
Another great horn player and conductor, I have to say.
Well. Yeah, fabulous. Great to see you there, Liam. Before we go, just very briefly, you have a dog with a blog. Tell us about that.
Brinkley, where's Brinkley? Is he here somewhere? I started the blog some time ago, and basically the blog is we got Brinkley just at the lockdown.
Okay.
So this was a wonderful excuse to get out of the house. And so we started telling Brinkley's story. And Brinkley's story basically was how to train your humans. And he's been, in some ways, really unsuccessful at it. And the whole blog is written from Brinkley's point of view. And it really is a bit of fun. And it's kind of takes the mickey out of myself. And here's Brinkley just coming in to say hello.
Oh my goodness, here we go.
Brinkley, there he is. He doesn't want to stay. No, he doesn't want to say. Say hello, Brinkley. No, that's it. Anyway, he's a Cocker Spaniel, and he's the most lovable little blackguard. And he hates the French. There's a video somewhere of me playing the French horn, and I eventually cracked up playing. I couldn't keep playing because he was howling so much in the background. I'll share it with you if you want to take the mickey out of me in future. You can have it in your armory.
So can we access that? Is that on the net? What's the web address?
It's if you do a search for Brinkley's blog in Facebook, then you can find it. And Brinkley was the dog that Tom Hanks had in the film You've Got Mail.
Oh yes, very good.
Brinkley.
Brilliant.
And I'd like to, any DCB members, if they want to support Brinkley in this, please like and share, because the 5 views that we get every few days when I do this at the moment, they're getting really, really tired of it. So we'd like to have a few more people join us. It doesn't matter. It's a bit of fun. It brought us through the whole lockdown thing with a great laugh and a great smile. It's a bit of fun.
It's amazing. It's truly hilarious. And you don't have to be a pet owner, an animal lover, a dog owner to enjoy it. It's actually just good fun. So well done on that.
Thank you.
And well done on everything from an amazing legacy with the Dublin Concert Band. An even more amazing legacy as French horn player, conductor, composer, arranger, everything else that you've done. And now the amazing work that you're doing with Blood Bikes. It's just truly phenomenal. So thank you for all of that. For myself and everybody in DCB and everybody that's watching online in DCBtv. We thought it was appropriate to finish with a little bit, because there is a recurring Clonakilty theme here going. So we're going to feature the Dublin Concert Band playing the Chaps Polka, and you've got your tails on. And I think there's even an appropriate interjection from Eileen, and a huge shout out, obviously, to Clonakilty, who like many other competitions have had to go into shutdown, and we really do miss the yearly trip down to Clonakilty, the spirit and the overall camaraderie of the festival. So yeah. A big shout out to all of them. But finally, Fergus, from all of us and to you, thank you very much.
Thank you, Brendan. Thank you for asking me on. And it's great to continue this association with the Dublin Concert Band.
So here we go with Chit Chat Polka.
Silence, please.
There we are. That was the Dublin Concert Band down in Clonakilty in the band championships under the baton of the then musical director of the band, Mr. Fergus O'Carroll. And it was an absolute pleasure to have him join us here on DCBtv for episode 6 and hear all of that amazing work that he has done in music and the amazing work that he continues to do through Blood Bikes as well. So that's it for episode 6. A huge thank you to all of our guests tonight, and obviously a thank you to the Dublin Concert Band for 2 brilliant performances of the 3rd and 4th movement of Lysian Suite number 2. Unfortunately, that is it for a couple of weeks. We're going to take a little break, or more importantly, I'm going to take a little break for a little while. Thank you very much for joining us on our Thursday weekly episode and enjoying some of the music and the chat from the Dublin Concert Band. When we return, we're going to have some exciting news about our Child Vision fundraiser that's going to be happening later on this year, as well as some more virtual performances and conversation with the band. Hopefully, at that stage, we might even do some live broadcasts from some of our rehearsals and potentially performances as well. So for now, please take care of yourself, stay happy, healthy, and well, and we look forward to welcoming you again on DCBtv sometime in the future.